Steinberg Cubase 12 Pro. We are starting the lesson. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, so as not to miss new videos. And we begin. Undoing/redoing visibility changes. You can undo/redo up to 10 visibility changes. Procedure. On the MixConsole toolbar, click Channel Visibility Agents. Select Undo Visibility Change or Redo Visibility Change. Channel Visibility Agents menu. Rack Selector. Rack Selector. The rack selector allows you to activate specific MixConsole functions that are organized in racks, such as routing, insert, or send handling. Undoing/redoing visibility changes. Channel Rack Selector. Channel Rack Selector. You can activate and deactivate the different channel racks in the MixConsole. To open the rack selector, click Select Rack Types on the MixConsole toolbar. Depending on the channel type, you can activate/deactivate the following racks. Hardware. Allows you to control your audio hardware effects. This rack is only available if supported by your hardware. Routing. Allows you to set up the input and output routing. For MIDI, you can also select the MIDI channel. Filters/gain/phase. For audio-related channels, it contains input filter and gain controls along with phase and gain controls. For MIDI channels, it contains an input transformer control. Inserts. Allows you to select insert effects for your channel. Equalizers, audio-related channels only. Allows you to set the channel EQ. Channel strip, audio-related channels only. Allows you to integrate channel strip modules, such as gate, compressor, EQ, transformer, saturator, and limiter that allow you to enhance your sound. Sends. Allows you to select send effects for your channel. Q sends, audio-related channels only. Allows you to activate and control the level and pan for up to 4 Q sends. Direct routing. Allows you to set and activate outputs for all selected channels at once. Track quick controls. Allows you to add quick controls for instant access. Device panels. Allows you to view the available device panels. Related links. MixConsole toolbar. Rack selector. Rack settings menu. Rack settings menu. The rack settings pop-up menu allows you to make settings for the racks. To open the rack settings pop-up menu, click Rack Settings on the MixConsole toolbar. Exclusive expanded rack. Shows the selected rack exclusively and collapses the other racks. Fixed number of slots. Shows all available slots for the inserts, sends, queues, and quick controls racks. Link racks to configurations. If this option is activated, the rack status is taken into account when you save and load a configuration. Show pre/filters as a combined label and setting. Select combined label and setting if you want to show the label and the setting in one line. Select separate label and setting if you want to show the label and the setting in separate lines. Show inserts as plugin names and insert controls. Select plugin names if you want to show the plugin names only. Select plugin names and insert controls if you want to show the plugin names and the insert controls. Show all channel strip controls. Shows all available controls on the channel strip rack. Show one channel strip type. Shows only one channel strip type at a time. Show sends as send destination and gain. Select send destination and gain if you want to show the destination and the gain in one line. Select send destination, gain and send controls if you want to show the destination, the gain and the send controls. Show quick controls as a combined destination and value. Select combined destination and value if you want to show the destination and the value in one line. Select separate destination and value if you want to show the destination and the value in separate lines. Related links. MixConsole toolbar. Channel rack selector. Linking channels. Linking channels. You can link selected channels in the MixConsole to form a link group. Any change that is applied to one channel is mirrored by all linked channels, depending on which settings are activated in the link group settings. The link group options on the MixConsole toolbar allow you to link channels and to edit links and linking configuration. Rack settings menu. Link group settings dialog. Link group settings dialog. The link group settings dialog allows you to specify the channel settings that are linked. To open the link group settings dialog, click Link on the MixConsole toolbar. The following options are available. New link group name. Allows you to enter a name for the link group. Use VCA Fader. Activate this option to assign the link group to a VCA Fader. Select VCA Fader. Allows you to select a VCA Fader channel. Volume. Activate this to link the volume of the linked channels. Pan. Activate this to link the panorama of the linked channels. EQ. Activate this to link the equalizers of the linked channels. Dynamics, compressor, gate, etc. Activate this to link the dynamics of the linked channels. Sends. Activate this to link the sends of the linked channels. Inserts. Activate this to link the inserts of the linked channels. Mute/solo/listen. Activate this to link the mute, solo, and listen states of the linked channels. Automation read/write. Activate this to link the automation read/write states of the linked channels. Routing. Activate this to link the routing of the linked channels. Selection. Activate this to link the selection of the linked channels. Record enable/monitor. Activate this to link the record enable/monitor states of the linked channels. Note: by default, the volume, sends, routing, and selection settings are activated. If you associate a link group to a VCA fader, only the sends and the routing parameters are activated. Linking channels. Display line. Display line. Whenever you create a link group, a display line is added on top of the fader section in the MixConsole. The display line shows the number and the name of the created link group and provides a link settings pop-up menu that allows you to edit the link group settings. On the display line, you can change the name of the link group by double-clicking and entering a different name. If you hold down a modifier key and double-click the name, the link group settings dialog opens. Note: if you use a VCA fader for the link group name displayed on the fader is also changed. The pop-up menu provides the following options. Unlink selected channels. Only available for a selected link group. Select this option to remove the link between the channels. This removes the link group. If you use a VCA fader, specify if you want to revert to the original automation of the linked channels. A VCA fader that controls this link group is not removed. Edit link group settings. Allows you to change the link group settings. Included in link group, name of link group. Shows the link group to which the selected channel belongs. You can assign the selected channel to a different link group. This removes the channel from the current group. If you only want to remove the selected channel from the link group, select None. Linked channels. Shows which channels are linked in the link group. Related links. Changing the link group settings. Adding channels to link groups. Removing channels from link groups. VCA faders. Link group settings dialog. Creating link groups. Creating link groups. You can link several channels to form a link group. Procedure. Select the channels that you want to link. On the MixConsole toolbar, click Link. In the Link Group Settings dialog, activate the parameters that you want to link. Click OK. Result. The number and the name of the link group are indicated above the channel name in the display line. Note: if you link groups, insert and channel strip module linking is applied at the slot level. For example, if you change the settings for insert slot 3 on one channel, these changes are also applied to slot 3 on the other channels. Insert effects in other slots remain unaffected. If you select a channel that belongs to a link group, all channels in this link group are selected by default. To prevent the selection of all channels that belong to a link group, deactivate selection in the Link Group Settings dialog. Related links. Link Group Settings dialog. Display line. Changing the link group settings. Changing the link group settings. If you change a setting for a channel of a link group, the change is applied to the whole group. To change the link settings for an existing link group, select the group. On the MixConsole toolbar, click Edit Link Group Settings, and change the settings in the Link Group Settings dialog. To unlink channels, select one of the linked channels, and click Link on the MixConsole toolbar. To prevent the selection of all channels that belong to a link group, deactivate selection in the Link Group Settings dialog. To make individual settings and changes for a channel in a link group, activate SUS on the MixConsole toolbar or press Alt/Opt. To make absolute instead of relative value changes, activate ABS on the MixConsole toolbar. Note: the automation tracks for linked channels are not affected by the link function. Related links. Link Group Settings dialog. Creating link groups. Adding channels to link groups. Adding channels to link groups. You can add a channel to an existing link group. Procedure. On the display line of the channel that you want to add, open the Link Settings pop-up menu. Select Included in Link Group, None, and select the link group. Result. The channel is added to the link group. Changing the link group settings. Removing channels from link groups. Removing channels from link groups. You can remove a channel from an existing link group. Procedure. On the display line of the channel that you want to remove, open the Link Settings pop-up menu. Select Included in Link Group Name, and, from the link group list, select None. If the channel is controlled by a VCA fader, specify if the channel keeps the combined automation. Result. The channel is removed from the link group. Adding channels to link groups. Using Quick Link. Using Quick Link. You can activate the temporary link mode to synchronize all touched parameters of selected channels. Procedure. Select the channels that you want to link. On the MixConsole toolbar, activate Q-Link. Note: you can also press Shift-Alt/Opt to temporarily link channels. In that case, the link is only active as long as you press the keys. Change the parameters for one of the selected channels. Result. The changes are applied to all selected channels until you deactivate Q-Link. Removing channels from link groups. Functions menu. Functions menu. The Functions menu contains tools and shortcuts for settings and functions in the MixConsole. To open the Functions menu, click Functions menu on the MixConsole toolbar. Scroll to selected channel. If this option is activated and you select a channel on the Visibility tab, the selected channel is automatically displayed in the fader section. Copy first selected channel settings. Copies the settings of the first selected channel. Paste settings to selected channels. Pastes the settings to the selected channels. Zoom. Opens a submenu where you can increase or reduce the channel width and the rack height. Open audio connections. Opens the audio connections window. Control room Q channels. Opens a submenu where you can activate/deactivate Q channels and change level and panning settings. Constrain delay compensation. Allows you to activate/deactivate the constrain delay compensation that keeps all channels in perfect sync and automatically compensates any delay inherent in VST plugins during playback. Direct routing, summing mode on, off. Allows you to feed your signals to several outputs at the same time. After fader listen mode. Allows you to enable/disable that the signal of a listen-enabled channel is routed to the MixConsole channel after applying the fader and pan settings. EQ/filter transition. Allows you to change the EQ/filter transition mode from soft to quick. Save selected channels. Saves the settings for the selected channels. Load selected channels. Loads the settings for the selected channels. Global meter settings. Opens a submenu where you can set up the global meter settings. Reset MixConsole channels. Allows you to reset EQ, insert, and send effect settings for all channels or for selected channels only. Solo and mute buttons are deactivated, the volume fader is set to 0 dB, and pan is set to the center position. Link MixConsoles. You can link multiple MixConsole windows. This allows you to display all channels that are visible in the fader section in different windows, on different monitors, for example. The scroll bars, the visibility configurations, filters, and the toolbar functions that affect the fader section are linked. Note: the MixConsole in the lower zone of the project window is excluded from the link function. Related links. MixConsole toolbar. Using quick link. Saving MixConsole settings. Saving MixConsole settings. You can save MixConsole settings for selected audio-related channels and load them into any project. Procedure. Select the channels with the settings that you want to save. Select Functions menu, save selected channels. In the File dialog, specify the file name and location. Click Save. Result. The settings for the selected channels are saved with the file extension .vmx. The input-output routing is not saved. Functions menu. Loading MixConsole settings. Loading MixConsole settings. You can load MixConsole settings that have been saved for selected channels. Procedure. Select the same number of channels that you selected when you saved your MixConsole settings. The loaded MixConsole settings are applied in the same order as originally saved. For example, if you have saved the settings for channels 4, 6, and 8, and apply these settings to channels 1, 2, and 3, the settings saved for channel 4 are applied to channel 1, the settings saved for channel 6 to channel 2, and so on. Select Functions menu to load selected channels. In the Load Selected Channels dialog, select the .vmx file and click Open. Result. The channel settings are applied to the selected channels. Note: when you apply loaded MixConsole settings to fewer channels, some of the saved settings are not applied. Since the saved settings are applied from left to right, as shown in the MixConsole, the settings for the channels furthest to the right are not applied to any channels. Saving MixConsole settings. Fader section. Fader section. The fader section is the heart of the MixConsole. It shows input and output channels in conjunction with audio, instrument, MIDI, group, FX, and VCA fader channels. Note: if a channel is deactivated on the Visibility tab or if its channel type is deactivated, it is not shown in the fader section. The MixConsole in the lower zone of the project window does not follow any visibility changes you perform in the MixConsole window and vice versa. It is linked to the track visibility of the project window. The fader section allows you to do the following. Edit link group settings. Set panorama. Activate mute and solo. Enable listen mode. Open channel settings. Set volume. Enable automation. Set input levels. Note: all fader section functions and settings are also available in the MixConsole in the lower zone of the project window. Related links. Changing the link group settings. Channel settings. Write/read automation. Showing/hiding MixConsole channels in the lower zone. Loading MixConsole settings. Pan control. Pan control. For each audio-related channel with at least a stereo output configuration, you can find a pan control at the top of the fader section. For MIDI channels, the pan control sends out MIDI pan messages. The result depends on how your MIDI instrument is set to respond to pan. The pan control allows you to position a channel in the stereo spectrum. This control is different for stereo and surround configurations. Channels with a multi-channel output configuration feature a miniature VST multi-panner control. To make fine adjustments, hold down Shift when you move the pan control. To select the default center pan position, hold down Ctrl/CMD and click the pan control. To edit the value numerically, double-click the pan control. Related links. Creating new projects. Surround sound. Fader section. Stereo balance panner. Stereo balance panner. The stereo balance panner allows you to control the balance between the left and right channels. It is activated by default. Pan control. Stereo combined panner. Stereo combined panner. With the stereo combined panner, the left and right pan controls are linked and keep their relative distance if you move them. It is available for channels with a stereo input and output configuration. To activate this panner, open the context menu for a pan control, and select Stereo Combined Panner. To set the pan independently for the left and right channels, hold down Alt/Opt and drag left or right. To reverse the left and right channels, pan the left channel to the right and the right channel to the left. The area between the pan controls changes color to indicate that the channels are reversed. To sum two channels, set them to the same pan position, mono. Note that this increases the volume of the signal. To specify the default stereo panner mode for new audio tracks, set the default stereo panner mode in the Preferences dialog, VST page. Stereo balance panner. Pan bypass. Pan bypass. You can bypass the panning for all audio-related channels. To activate panning bypass, click the button to the left or press Ctrl/CMD Alt/Opt/Shift and click the pan control. To deactivate panning bypass, press Ctrl/CMD Alt/Opt/Shift and click again. When panning is bypassed for a channel, the following happens. Mono channels are panned center. Stereo channels are panned hard left and right. Surround channels are panned center. Stereo combined panner. Using solo and mute. Using solo and mute. You can silence one or several channels using solo and mute. To silence a channel, click mute. Click again to deactivate the mute state for the channel. To mute all other channels, click solo for a channel. Click again to deactivate the solo state. To deactivate the mute or solo states for all channels simultaneously, click Deactivate All Mute States or Deactivate All Solo States on the toolbar. To activate exclusive solo mode, hold down Ctrl/CMD and click Solo for the channel. The solo buttons of all other channels are deactivated. To activate solo defeat for a channel, Ctrl/CMD Alt/Opt click Solo. You can also click and hold Solo to activate solo defeat. In this mode, the channel is not muted when you solo another channel. Click again to deactivate solo defeat. Pan bypass. Listen mode. Listen mode. The listen mode allows you to quickly check the signal that is coming from selected channels without interrupting and interfering with the actual mix. During a recording session, it allows the sound engineer in the control room to attenuate the signal that is coming from one of the musicians while the recording continues undisturbed, for example. Note: to enable the listen mode, activate the control room. To enable the listen mode, click Listen for a channel. This routes the channel to the control room without interrupting the signal flow. To turn off listen mode for all channels simultaneously, click Deactivate All Listen States on the MixConsole toolbar. Using solo and mute. Volume. Volume. Each channel in the fader section of the MixConsole has a volume fader. The fader levels are displayed below the fader, in dB for audio-related channels and as MIDI volume, 0 to 127, for MIDI channels. To change the volume, move the fader up or down. To make fine volume adjustments, press Shift while moving the faders. To reset the volume to its default value, press Ctrl/CMD and click a fader. For audio channels, the volume fader controls the volume of the channel before it is routed to an output bus, directly or via a group channel. For output channels, the volume fader controls the master output level of all audio channels that are routed to an output bus. For MIDI channels, the volume fader controls the volume changes in the MixConsole by sending out MIDI volume messages to the connected instruments that are set to respond to MIDI messages. Listen mode. Global meter settings menu.